Hello, this is Bill Steffen. Happy Tuesday. There are two big weather stories that we're following. One is the possibility of a big thunderstorm rolling through. The most likely time for that would be Wednesday evening, but there are other chances out there too. And also the possibility the temperatures could reach the low 90s here. Best bet for that would be over the weekend. We got a picture to start you out with from Bradley Taylor here. You can see the high temperatures for Monday. And look at the difference over by the lake once again. Grand Rapids, 84 degrees. We had an east wind again. We've had a lot of days with an east wind here. If you're over by the lake shore, it was much cooler. Muskegon Beach, 71. The wind there was northwest and not east. Muskegon Beach at 73, and the South Haven Pier at 73. And that 73 at the South Haven Pier actually occurred at 10 a.m. in the morning. In the next hour, between 10 and 11, the temperature fell by 7 degrees. And then it pretty much hung in the upper 60s most of the afternoon. So interesting to see those temperatures fluctuate over along the lakeshore, especially when we get a lake breeze like this. Okay, we've got a lot to talk about here. First of all, down at the bottom, I want to show you the water temperatures that we've got. Mears at 57. Hoffmaster's been the warm spot along the lake with temperature there at 64. Holland and Saugatuck also 57, and Reed's Lake, look at that, 76. Now that's right on the surface of the water, and of course the sun is really high in the sky. We're getting about a 4 or even 5 degree difference between sunrise and the highest water temperature of the day, which usually occurs around 4:30 in the afternoon. During the day tomorrow, winds will be out of the southwest at 10 to 20 knots, so a little bit more wind. It gets a little bit breezy here. Waves should be increasing to around 1 to 3 feet. And with a southwest wind, that means waves will be closer to a foot down by Benton Harbor, but closer to 3 feet once you get north of Muskegon. And the picture there is from daughter number 2. Nice picture of a boat out there on the water. All right, moving along here. Air quality alert coming up. And this is something different. This is not for smoke this time out. The air quality alert is actually for ozone. And we're going to have a number of ozone days coming up here. These used to be called ozone action days. Now they're called air quality alerts. But this is for the day today. And I would suspect that, especially over the weekend, early part of next week, there'll be at least several days here when we'll have air quality alerts. So pick a time when you want to cut the grass, whatever, and use gasoline engines. Some interesting information on the fires up in Manitoba there in the lower right. They've really increased the heavy equipment. Those are mainly bulldozers, and I think that's up about 55 from yesterday, or maybe even more than that. So there was a convoy of bulldozers coming into some of those fire areas here. 6 fires are still rated as out of control, but that's down from 8 a week ago. 151 firefighters, the 6 water bombers, and helicopters. That set a record. I think we were up at 41 yesterday. We're at 48, 41 on Sunday, and then 48 here yesterday. And the 4 other aircraft are essentially some chemical dropping planes, but they're really mounting an attack on some of these fires. And of course, we've had winds out of the east and then out of the southeast and southwest. So since the winds have not been coming down from the northwest, we have not had the smoke in our area here. That's thinned out, and I think that should continue to be the case here for a while. We got a hurricane brewing off the coast of Mexico. This is going to be Hurricane Eric. The last I checked, it was just in the process of becoming a tropical storm, and this one's going to move on shore. So if you know somebody along the west coast of Mexico, you might want to have them keep an eye on this. The storm will dissipate over the mountains of Mexico. Should get some showers into Mexico City, but you can see the heaviest rains will fall near the coast. On the right side over there in that orange area, there are places that could see 3 to 6 inches of rain, and possibly even an isolated 12-inch total as that comes on shore and that air is lifted, that moist air is lifted up over the mountains. So we'll keep an eye on things. That's the only place where there's any activity, hurricane activity. The Western Pacific is very quiet, unusually quiet. There's some speculation that we could not see a tropical storm in the Atlantic Caribbean until July, that June may be a total blank in terms of hurricane and tropical activity. All right, we're going to take time out now to thank our sponsors, starting with Complete Care Concierge.
Complete Care Concierge is the fast, affordable, and efficient cleaning service serving all of West Michigan. They've got you covered with residential and business cleans. 616-264-1397. And here's a word from our other sponsor.
When your home needs help, you might not know where to start. Why not ask Ace? We're always here to help with Ace Handyman Services. Our talented craftsmen handle everything from drywall and carpentry to doors and kitchens. We're the neighbors you trust to get the job done right. Let's get started. Book your handyman appointment today. Ace Handyman Services, bringing helpful to your home.
Ace is the place with the helpful hardware, folks.
Well, our weather headlines, there is a chance of a shower or a thunderstorm today, probably nothing severe. But if you get some rain, count yourself lucky because it's been very dry around here. Some places have had as little as 1/4 inch of rain so far this month. The best chance of a significant storm is going to come Wednesday, late afternoon into the early part of the night. High temperatures, low to mid 80s here the next couple of days, but heating up to 90 here next weekend, especially Sunday and Monday. I could see Chicago reaching the upper 90s and temperatures at least in the low 90s here in lower Michigan. Okay, let's move on here and talk about sunrise and sunset times. Longest days of the year occur over the next week. So enjoy all the daylight that we're getting. Sunrise 6:03, sunset at 9:23. Earliest sunrise was last Sunday. 70-degree angle that the sun shines at solar noon here, so it's really pounding down on you. Average high temperature is at 80. That goes to 81 this week, and as high as 83 during the month of July before it starts to taper back down once again. Let's take a look at some severe weather and other activities that we have coming up here. First of all, the severe weather map here for Tuesday, this Tuesday. There's an enhanced or level 3 outlook across a good portion of Kansas where they expect some pretty strong winds and thunderstorms there. The slight risk comes up into Iowa. The marginal risk comes all the way east to Milwaukee and Chicago. So we'll certainly keep an eye on things, but I think the best bet is that the heavy weather stays off to our southwest here, at least this Tuesday. Wednesday is going to be a different story. Take a look at this. The slight risk area centered over lower Michigan from here down to Oklahoma. This ended at the Missouri-Oklahoma border, but they've expanded that back into Oklahoma. They've pretty much kept the lower Michigan part the way it is. And here's what SPC says. It says a shortwave trough from northern Illinois into lower Michigan. Here, shear profiles will likely support supercells, including hail and perhaps a tornado effect here, tornado threat. So it's something here that you want to keep an eye on. If you've got a golf league or a softball league or something on Wednesday night, or you got an engagement, keep an eye on the fact that we could be seeing a pretty strong thunderstorm roll on through here. Now, take a look at rainfall across the area here. Wow. First of all, the Corn Belt runs from Nebraska and Kansas east to western Pennsylvania, and much of the Corn Belt is going to be seeing some much-needed rain. This is really going to get the corn and the beans to be growing across the area here. Most areas, now Texas has had some pretty heavy rain, so they dry out a little bit, but you can see much of the rest of the country seeing some significant rain, including West Michigan. Let's take a look right now, zoomed into Michigan a little bit here. The yellow indicates 1.5 inches of rain over a 3-day period. This would be Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday combined. The darker green right there indicates about 1 inch, and that would be most welcome here in Grand Rapids to see a good soaking of rain around here. It's been, like I said, quite dry. And everybody gets in on some rain here. I got the chance of rain Wednesday and Wednesday night at 90%, so that's a pretty high percent. I don't generally go 100% ever, so 90% is pretty high there. Okay, let's move on now and take a look at the forecast here for today. 86 degrees, the high temperature. It will be cooler near the lake because the winds will be southwest. So if you're by Lake Michigan, expect mid-70s there during the afternoon. It should be a pretty nice day. If 86 is too hot and you got the day off, head to the lake and do a little shopping, maybe grab some ice cream. Any of the towns there, South Haven, Saugatuck, Holland, Grand Haven, Muskegon, Pentwater, Ludington, lots of places to check out. I've got the chance of rain during the day at 35%, so that's about a 1 in 3 chance. If you throw in the overnight period, we're probably at 50%. Sky should be partly cloudy at night. Humidity falls to about 55, 56%. I don't know how that got to 56. I had intended to put 55 there. Southwest winds 10 to 20. Like I said, it gets a bit breezy here during the afternoon, with waves on the lake increasing to 1 to 3 feet. High temperatures are going to be increasing here over the next several days, and we'll see if we can take a look at those. 85 degrees for Grand Rapids, 85, 86. About 10 degrees cooler in South Haven in the city area there. Holland's temperature there is the regional airport, and with a south-southwest wind, there won't be much time for the air to cross the water there. Chicago reaches 90 today. If you're traveling off to the north over on the right side there, we've got the Upper Peninsula of Michigan for you there. And temperatures will be comfortably in the low 70s much of the afternoon along the Lake Superior shore. All right, we'll move on and talk about Wednesday. And again, we'll see temperatures low 80s here in West Michigan, mid-upper 70s to the north, so slightly cooler than Tuesday. And over on the right side, you've got temperatures right along the Lake Superior shoreline in the mid to upper 60s. Now, I did add one more day, Saturday and Sunday, to show you what the temperatures are going to be there. And here's Sunday. 92 is what we're getting here for Sunday. 81 for South Haven, so it'll still be on the warm side there. It'd be a good beach day. I think Sunday and Monday will probably turn out to be dry. Monday should be just as hot as Sunday. And toward the middle of the week, we should cool off again as we see another round of thunderstorms come on through. But Sunday, the weekend here, we're going to be cooking. All right, let's move on and take a look at the 5-day forecast. I've got rain up there each day, but most of the daytime it will not be raining. Probably the best bet for rain would be Wednesday. We'll probably see a couple of lines of showers and thunder showers come on through. Temperatures with the clouds and the rain cooling off a little bit, but then heating up as we get toward next weekend. I've got out 89 for Saturday and 92 for next Sunday. So check that out. Again, nothing terribly cold around here, and all of that heat and the warm temperatures at night should act to keep the water temperatures on the rise here over the next 5 days. Inland lakes especially should be quite warm by the early part of next week. Okay, the 8 to 14-day outlooks here. Again, we're still above normal for the period the 24th through the 30th, but I would suspect by the time we get about the 28th to 30th, we'll be back close to average here with the heat moving off to the east. By the way, not only do we get hot here early next week, but it gets really hot on the East Coast. I could see Washington, D.C. reaching 100, Philadelphia 100, New York City maybe 98 or 99. It's going to be a very hot period over the Great Lakes and Northeast here. In terms of rainfall, we're still in the above average category. And like I said, this pattern suggests what we call the ring of fire, which is thunderstorms going over the top of an upper level high pressure center. And if you were to follow them from Montana across the Dakotas, Minnesota, Wisconsin, and into Michigan, I would say looking at that there's a good chance we'll get a couple of strong thunderstorms here during that last week of June. So if you like chasing storms or whatever, we may have a storm or two for you to chase. I'm happy looking at my computer and if need be running down to the tornado shelter that we have down in the basement of the house, which we didn't put in, by the way. That was put in by the previous owner. Michelle, what you got for us?
So I remember when that storm in 1998 happened, the one in May, and you went to work and you told us to go down to the storm shelter, but you were calling every 30 seconds because you were so excited about some kind of damage report and you needed to tell somebody. It was a whole thing. Yeah,
that was a heck of a storm. Of course, now we'd be so busy looking at all the radar products that we wouldn't have time to do anything. But I did. That's one of the few times I've actually called home and told Mom to get you girls down into the basement. I really felt that there was a threat of building damage. And that was with a severe thunderstorm and not a tornado. People kept coming up to me and saying it had to be a tornado. I said, it could have been one of the worst thunderstorms in Michigan history. That's even better than just getting a plain old little EF0 tornado. So that was interesting, but that was heck of a storm. I was at WZZM and I had propped the door open with a concrete block, with a couple of concrete blocks actually. And I poked my head out through the door so I could watch the storm. And when the power went out, all you could hear was the roar of the wind and you couldn't see anything. So I said, well, this is dumb. So I went back to the weather office, which is very well protected in the first basement of the building. So we don't at 13 we did not have any windows in the weather office like we do at 8. But on the other hand, we felt pretty safe there in that room. That was a place to be. And then there was a full basement underneath that, which was really a safe place to be. In fact, I would say that the basement. The basement level at there's a room on the northeast corner there at ZZM is probably one of the safest places in the entire city to be during a tornado or severe storm.
And there
We're
was
talking baseball.
Yes, there was a couch outside the weather office at ZZM, and I used to watch cartoons on that after you would do the news and before we would go to Meyer at 2 in the morning.
Right.
Okay, so lots of MHSAA state finals have happened. So here are some of the finishers, starting with boys baseball. Hudsonville was the highest West Michigan finisher in Division I. They made the quarterfinals. Forest Hills Eastern state champs for Division II. And West Michigan Christian and Muskegon Catholic Central both making their regional finals in their divisions. So congratulations
some
to
great
them.
high school teams. Yes, go ahead.
Boys golf, North Point Christian, 3rd place in Division III. Calvin Christian, 2nd place in Division IV. Forest Hills Northern in 4th place in Division I, and state champs for Grand Rapids Christian in Division II. So congratulations to all those West Michigan finishers. Girls golf, Caledonia in 2nd, Lowell in 3rd, Catholic Central state champs, and Kalamazoo Christian state champs, and North Point Christian in 2nd place.
Par for the course to have some good golfers in West Michigan.
And boys lacrosse, Division I, Rockford semifinalists, and East Grand Rapids state champs. And for girls, Rockford again in the semifinals, and Grand Rapids Catholic Central state runners-up in Division II.
Do you have any idea what lacrosse means? I mean, there's La Crosse, Wisconsin. There's a town, but I can't imagine that the town is named after the sport. But it could be, I guess. Wow.
Cross meaning triangular frame or netting, so it probably has to do with the shape of the catcher's mitt.
Oh, okay. Well, that's kind of neat. And that could be the shape of the river in La Crosse, Wisconsin. Interesting.
Oh, one more. Girls soccer, MHSAA, West Michigan winners across the board, Byron Center Unity Christian, Catholic Central, Kalamazoo Christian. And this is about half of the spring sports. There's just so many. We'll do the rest another day.
Wow. We got some great athletes here at the high school level in West Michigan. Yippee.
On June 17, 1972, a break-in occurred at the Democratic National Committee headquarters in this Washington, D.C. hotel and office complex. The burglars were connected to U.S. President Richard Nixon's re-election campaign. They planted listening devices, defending his innocence in the matter. Nixon uttered the now famous phrase, "I am not a crook."
This is the Watergate Hotel, correct? With G. Gordon Liddy, who was on TV for a while. Nixon was a smart guy, and he wound up winning that 72 election by winning, I believe, 49 states. There were 2 49-state landslides. One was Nixon, who was running against McGovern in 72. And the other one was Reagan-Mondale in 84, when Reagan won 49 states and refused to he and Mondale were friends, and it was interesting. He refused to Reagan did not campaign in Minnesota. He didn't do any rallies in Minnesota because he didn't want to take Minnesota away from Mondale. At least that's what I've been told. But yeah, that was something else.
June 17 is the national day in this country. The republic was established June 17, 1944, ending its ties with Denmark. Surveys indicate that about half of residents may believe in elves. It's known as the land of fire and ice because of its volcanoes and glaciers.
Wow. June 17th. Okay. Well, we're talking Greenland, Iceland, over there. The half of the residents believe in elves, right? You know, it's interesting. That would have led me to believe Greenland, and believing in elves would be a marketing technique, but I can't imagine they get too many visitors to Greenland. The land of fire and ice would lead me to believe it's Iceland. So let's go with that. Let's go with Iceland.
And you were correct.
How about that?
And before you knock them off for believing in elves, I Googled what percent of Americans say they believe in Santa, and it's like 20%.
Oh, okay. Well, I can believe that. You know, and I mean, part of that could be wishful thinking too. I mean, there's lots of people that believe in such things like UFOs, and a UFO is an unidentified flying object, and we have flying objects that are unidentified. So there's nothing wrong with that.
Happy Apple Strudel Day. Michigan is the third largest apple producer in the U.S. We produce over 1 billion pounds of apples each year, and that only puts us in third.
And Washington State is number 1, and I believe New York is number 2. Western New York, there's a lot of apples downwind from the lakes there. In Kent County, I believe Alpine Township grows the most apples, and Kent County has the most in West Michigan, and Alpine Township with Sparta maybe second place. But the Ridge is an absolutely ideal place to grow apples, and there are so many different varieties now. I ate, I had one, those giant jars of applesauce. I probably ate a third of a jar last night. It just tasted so good, yummy, and I believe
well, you're all set for Apple Strudel Day.
Apple Strudel Day, yeah, that sounds Deutsch.
Okay, let's talk about Drummond Island. So
Okay.
Here's a comment that we got. Saw the show where you mentioned the British leaving Drummond Island in 1828. Drummond Island is a wonderful place to visit and a great ferry ride. Tell Bill you get a significant senior discount on the ferry charge. When you play golf on Drummond at the municipal course, you have to cross an active runway to get to 3 of the holes.
Really?
So there's Drummond Island up there. And how does it compare? They have about 1,100 year-round residents compared to Mackinac Island's 500, but Drummond is much bigger. They're 249 square miles compared to Mackinac Island's 3.7, with many times the shoreline.
Is that still just a ferry, or is there a road out there now? I think it's just ferry, isn't that right?
I think it's just a ferry, but it's a car ferry. And then I looked up whether you really need to have a car to have a good visit, and you do. You need to take your car with you.
Okay, yeah, it's a fairly good-sized island. It's a lot bigger than Mackinac Island.
Mm-hmm. We'll add a little over an hour to get to the ferry station than it is to go to Mackinac Island from Grand Rapids. And the ferry, as a walk-on passenger, is only $2 for one way, or $1 if you're a senior, and $10 for a car if you're a senior one way. Comparing that to the round-trip adult for the Shepler's Ferry with no car of $38.
Boy, supply and demand, I guess.
I guess.
Of course, what would be interesting is if there was, are there 2 ferry services going out to Mackinac Island?
I think so, but there was a whole thing with the ownership of that, and I'm not sure what the latest status of it was. And I think there was some litigation over the prices and how much Mackinac Island got to control that.
Wow, just $1 for seniors. Wow.
Yeah.
Almost tempted to give them a 10-cent tip. No, I should go out there again, as I love visiting islands. We spent a week on Washington Island in Lake Michigan, and we spent a week on Bois Blanc Island, and we just had a great time.
Okay, so how did Drummond Island get its name? Named after Sir Gordon Drummond, a British commander who was the first Canadian-born officer to command the Canadian military. He became the Governor General and Administrator of Canada after the War of 1812, and the Ojibwe name for Drummond Island is Potawatomi. So if you're still holding a grudge over the Tea Party and you want to use the native name because you didn't want to call it Drummond Island, you can call it Potawatomi.
Oh.
So that's how Drummond Island got its name. It's named after a Canadian Armed Services commander.
Well, I will have to get up there and do that at some point in time. We've been looking for stuff to do.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really into getting this, the videos that we do here on a daily basis and getting them going. But as long as there's an internet connection up there, we can do it from up there. Kind of fun.
We could also take a day off. We could just put up, we're in Drummond Island. Good luck. We'll see you later.
Or we could come up with something else to talk about.
Okay, lots of things to do. Landscapes, beaches, all of the usual outdoor stuff, a lighthouse, a museum, fossil ledges, plant life. It looks like it's got the smattering of Michigan to do.
Yeah.
On Island.
Yeah, I wonder if that Niagara escarpment comes up into Drummond Island.
That was on the list. Yep.
Yeah, neat.
Okay, Drummond Island is the second largest freshwater island in the United States. The largest freshwater island is Isle Royale in Lake Superior, or Isle Royale. How do you say that?
Isle Royale, I think.
Royal. Okay. The largest freshwater island in the world is in Lake Huron. It is owned by Canada. And Mr. Geography major, do you know its name?
Would that be Michipicoten Island? Manitoulin Island. Okay.
Manitoulin Island, 1,000 square
Michipicoten
miles.
Island, I believe, is one in Lake Superior. So Manitoulin Island. You know, and we ought to look this up. On Manitoulin Island, there's an island in a lake, on an island in a lake, on an island in a lake.
Mhm.
I guess there's only a couple places in the world where that occurs, but one of those is Manitoulin Island. I think I got it right. Is it 2 times or 3 times? I don't know.
And that one, there's a bridge to it. And they're already using the English version of the native name, which is Manitowaling, which means Cave of the Spirit.
Okay, yeah, interesting. And accessible by a 1-lane bridge. Well, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
like with all these photos, I guess the point is to like show off how much beauty and ordinary things there are in the world around us every day that you being the only person there gets to see and no one else in the world. It's all yours when you see
That's
that little
very much
beautiful.
true. And you know, just
thing.
walk around your backyard and see some of the beautiful things that are out there. Trees, flowers, plants, you know, get down and take a look at the grass, look for a 4-leaf clover. All kinds of
So
neat things.
if you see anything cool, send it to bill@billsteffen.com. We'll put it on the show. And if you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button on YouTube and help us grow.
That's right. So we'll wrap things up, and I want to remind you again, outside chance of a thunder shower today. Better bet for a thunderstorm here Wednesday afternoon, Wednesday evening. That could be heavy. And we got some heat building in. Next weekend is going to be hot. We've got several days in a row that are really going to be scorchers. So come back tomorrow, and we'll tell you more about it.